Hi there, good afternoon, and welcome to another session on our CAT preparation. So you are on BYJU'S exam prep channel that focuses on just one thing: how to help you succeed in the B School entrance exams. So if you're new to this channel, make sure that you subscribe. We keep on bringing a lot of sessions, and if you press the bell icon, you can also start getting notifications for all of those. My name is Vikrant, and I'm your personal coach for all things related to English and communication skills, and we do not let any part go unattended on this channel. So a lot of people make this mistake of not preparing for areas like grammar, areas like vocabulary, uh, under this false impression that they're not relevant for the CAT. So the only issue is uh, the CAT does not ask you a direct question based on vocabulary or a direct question based on grammar, but these are foundational things for even reading comprehension. And then, mind you, most of us are supposed to go ahead and write a lot of other management entrance tests as well. Tests apart from the CAT too, and that is where you'd even see questions based on vocab and grammar. So you talk about ZAT, you talk about SNAP, you talk about NMAT, you talk about even Maharashtra CET, CMAT. All of those exams will test your understanding of grammar for sure, and vocabulary for sure, and therefore it is important for you to start working on vocabulary, and that too early, because it's a very vast area. So unless you start early and unless you keep chipping away at it every day, you may not be able to see a huge amount of difference. So one of the questions that consequently I often get is, Vikrant, how do I really go on and become better at vocabulary? How do I go on improving my vocabulary? So this session is aimed at giving you an exhaustive answer to this particular question. So whatever I'm going to tell you today are the strategies that I teach to my students in our batch. These are time tested. I've been doing it for 22 years now, and anybody who follows whatever I recommend and the mechanism, the method that I share would generally go on and have a great success when it comes to vocabulary. So how do we improve our vocab? Rather straightforward. At the end of the day, improving at vocabulary simply means that we want to acquire more words, right? And a word is a simple thing. If I look at a word at its heart, can I say that a word is nothing but a sound that we produce, and this sound carries an image or an idea with itself? So think of these as code words, codes for different things. So what do I have here? Well, that's a pen or a marker. What is this? Glasses. And the glasses are resting on the bridge of my nose along with the ear pinna. So you notice everything has been given a code to refer to it. So you just simply need to go on and acquire a lot of those codes, a lot of those words, a lot of those sounds. Right? So how do you do this? So far you have gone on to learn a lot of words even without attending this particular class, and that is known as the natural way of acquiring vocabulary. So you notice when you expose yourself to a particular language, you start learning words from that area, that language. So when I say expose, what do we really mean? So when you listen to stuff in a particular language, when you speak, read, write, and even think, these are the 5 domains in which we use language. So the more you engage in these 5 areas using a particular language, the better you go on to become in that particular language. So that's a natural way. So I would suggest that you continue doing that if you've been doing it. If you've not been doing that, let's double down on English. Okay, so in these 5 domains, just use as much English as you possibly can, right? But the other way is the express way. So we have this task ahead of us where we are going to appear for the B School entrance exams. Typically, the first exam of the season is NMAT. So you can sit for NMAT in the middle of October. Okay, so around mid-October is when the test window opens. So by then you would like to be in a seriously good position. So can I say that we have basically 12 months? So can we do something that expedites our journey over the course of these 12 months? So yes, we can, and that way, that method is called the express way. So it is a short-term and highly focused plan whose solitary goal is to add so many words to your mind, so many words to your kitty, your repertoire, that people look at you and they think that, oh, is that you or is that Shashi Tharoor? And that's the goal. And Prince, happy Navratri. Oh, in fact, happy Navratri and happy Kanjak to all the girls who are celebrating. So this session is going to be about the express way. So any questions so far? Anything that you need some more clarity on? So let's begin. Let's go ahead and talk about a few things. The very first thing is, what kind of words do we need to learn? So see, we are embarking on a journey where we are learning words, but what kind of words should we learn? I mean, words can actually be picked up from anywhere. You can pick up a textbook that is used in MBBS, and if you pick that up, you'd go ahead and learn a lot of words. Different body parts have Latin words. There are a lot of diseases and illnesses and conditions that have specific words. For example, if I say myalgia, it's a word, you would learn it, but is it useful for the exam? Because myalgia is nothing but body ache. So should you learn body ache? Should you learn myalgia? I think body ache, right? Why? So what kind of words are we really trying to learn? We are trying to learn the high frequency words. And why high frequency words specifically? Look at it from the perspective of the B schools. They don't want walking dictionaries on the campus. What they want are people who know most of the words which are used around them in formal situations specifically. So the kind of words which are found in the newspapers, on TV channels, particularly news channels, those are the kind of words that we are interested in, and not all of the words. So I'd say that out of around 10 lakh words that the English language has, there are around 70 to 80,000 words that are used more frequently. And these are the words that we are basically focusing on, and you already know a lot of these words. You already know a lot of those 70, 80,000 words. And you just need to go ahead and learn the remaining words. So the question now is, from where? Okay, is there a place, is there a source that I can tap and learn high frequency words? So my answer will of course be yes. See, you are not the only one who's facing this challenge of learning high frequency words. In fact, B schools world over, and for that matter quite a few other exams world over, do expect people to possess superior vocabulary. And some enterprising entrepreneurs thought that, hey, that's a business opportunity. Why not compile all of these high frequency words at the same place and then share it with those aspirants? So we do get these compilations of high frequency words in the marketplace that you can go ahead and learn. Now these compilations actually come in two forms. So you get flashcards, and you get them in the form of a word list. So flashcards or cue cards have they have this huge advantage, and that is they are portable. Wherever you go, you can carry them with you, and that portability is the key. So if you go to the market, you can ask for a vocabulary flashcard, and you typically be given a box of cards, right? And in these cards, you would normally find a word along with their meaning. So for example, infraction is a violation of the law. And then here is an example sentence, gregarious. Right? So this flashcard is more of an exception where you have just one word on one card. Typically, the kind of word list or the kind of flashcards that you would ask for will have multiple words on the same card. Okay, so particularly the ones that are focused on entrance exams, they will give you somewhere between 10 to 20 words per card, and an exhaustive compilation should lead to a bundle which gives you around 3000 words. Okay, so you can start using those flashcards, or if you're not that fond of flashcards, you can always use a word list. So when I used to prepare, I used a word list, and the word list that I used was published by a company called Barron's. So this is essential words for GRE. So when you say essential, you notice this basically gives you 800 high frequency words, right? I use the master list, which has around 3600 words. So you can use that. But then if you find that 3600 words as too daunting, they have these versions. Okay, so for example, this is essential words. Then they also have a list that gives you 1100 words, so on and so forth. So pick up whichever you think you're most comfortable with to begin with, but the goal is to eventually work our way towards that master list where you go through 1500 words. So how do you go through 1500 words? How do you go through these word lists? So there are two distinct ways. Okay, you can set a time target, or you can set a task target. So time target is where you decide to devote a certain amount of time reading the word list. So for example, you may say that, hey, I am going to read it for 20 minutes every day. Or task target is where you give yourself a task that I'm going to memorize this many words from this word list. So for example, task target for you could be memorizing one page every day, right? So the difference is, in time target, you're not memorizing, you're just reading with focus, you're just reading with care. So as a result, chances are that in those 20 minutes, you'd probably end up reading 5 pages, 4 pages. Whereas in task target, because you are trying to memorize, the process will be slow. And both of them have their own advantage. So if you use time target, you'll end up reading that book some 7-8 times by the time you reach your exam, and the sheer revision of 7-8 times can help you a lot. On the other hand, if you're somebody who's using a task target, that's okay. You may not be able to finish it more than twice, but then because you're trying to memorize, you would anyway end up learning all those words in those same 2 readings. So that's the game basically. So now you know what you can do. Pick up one such book and get cracking. And I told you I am doing it for the last 22 years. I've advised it to a lot of people. They also go ahead and start their work. But then, you know, people who start working with word lists, they almost invariably come to me after a few days and they tell me, yeah, Vikrant, you told me about the word list. No, I started doing it, but you know what? यार याद ही नहीं हो रहे यार ये words, क्या करूं मैं? So you notice so far we were talking about a vocabulary issue. Hi Nobita Rick. Thank you, Prince. That's exactly the aim. So you see, I keep forgetting these damn words. So now it is no longer a vocabulary issue. Now your question has changed. Now the question is, related to memorizing. Now the question is related to, hey, how do I retain all of these words that I learn? How do I ensure that they stay in my memory? How do you go about doing that? So fortunately, we do have answer. Sanatani Kindle, I'm not very sure. Yeah, these are definitely available online as hard, as you know, as regular books as well as soft copies, PDFs, etc. But are they available in the Kindle format? Never looked it up really. I'll look it up and let you know. PDFs are definitely available. Kindle version, I'm not very sure. Kindle had that AZW3, right? And they're Mobi, and now they're anyway moving towards EPUB, I reckon. But you should be able to find an EPUB version for sure. So just look for a soft copy that ends in EPUB or Mobi or AZW3, or you can actually use any of those file converters. Okay, so for example, the software that I generally use is Calibre to convert files from one type to another type. Although if the publisher does it for you, that's generally going to be a better job. So, but you're looking for, so these are the three formats that Kindle generally support, but they are phasing out these two. I think most of them will now be only supporting EPUBs. So let's see. They do display PDFs, but the experience is not that great. So when I read a PDF, I generally do it on a tablet over a Kindle. I use an iPad for that. So coming back to this, how do we keep words in our memory? So as a human being, there are only two ways for us to retain anything, including words. Those two ways are, number one, revision, and number two, association. So you already know what revision is. You don't need me to talk about it, but I can talk a little more about association. So what is association? Association is linking a word with something else that is already in your mind. Now that something else can be a sound, a feeling, a word, an image, whatever. Right? And that can ensure that your retention of the word increases. So for example, let's have a look at this word. So the word is obnoxious. What do we mean by obnoxious? Drop it in the chat down below. Come on, quick. What is obnoxious? Remember, noxious fumes, noxious gases are harmful. So anything that is obnoxious is something that you would consider extremely offensive, extremely unpleasant, extremely annoying. So hope you get the drift. A synonym that you can use for this is odious. If you call a person obnoxious, then he's a very disagreeable person, very brazenly rude and argumentative, that kind of a chap. So there you go. Now you know what obnoxious really means. But the question is, how do we remember? So let's see, let's use an image. So now tell me something. Do you have an obnoxious person in your life? A classmate, a colleague, a teacher, a relative? Somebody in your extended friend circle? I think life is fair in the sense that all of us usually have at least one extremely offensive, unpleasant, annoying, rude, odious person in our life. Right? So I want you to bring the image of that person to your mind. So close your eyes, see that person through your mind's eye. You see that person? Pick up your pen and write down the word obnoxious on that person's forehead. Tattoo it there. So now you should see that face with obnoxious on the forehead. Done? That's it. So now you're not going to forget it. 3 days from now you may forget the meaning, but you'd remember this image. And that would typically do the trick for you. Sanatan, our siblings do have that impact on us, but what I can tell you from experience is that it's just a passing phase. In fact, you know what? Siblings should fight. I have a background in psychology, and if you see two siblings who do not fight, even at a young age, they don't fight. They in fact support each other and care for each other a lot, even at a young age. It is normally a sign that things are not all right in their house. It's normally a sign of trauma. So fighting is actually healthy, psychologically speaking. Anyway, so that's it. So how did we learn obnoxious? We linked it with an image. Here is another one, pulchritudinous. So pulchritudinous basically means beautiful. If you think you'd forget it, try it on somebody, or once again you can link it with an image. Or how about this? If I tell you that a person has an abstemious lifestyle, what kind of lifestyle does that person have? Abstemious lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle would that be? Should I? You notice you can link it with this word called abstain. When you abstain from something, you don't use it. So abstemious basically means, how do I put it? Okay, to refrain from consuming food or drinks in excess. So when you're very careful and very watchful of what you eat and what you drink, then we say that you are abstemious. But then this is about associations, right? So do you see the word abs in abstemious? And how do we get abs? If you want to get abs, you need to be very watchful and very careful of what you eat and what you drink. You need to refrain from freely consuming food and drinks. So abstemious lifestyle is how you go on to get great abs. That's why I struggle to get them, because I get tempted by food rather easily. So that's abstemious. So you notice we are just linking it with an image, an idea, a word, the spelling of the word itself, some other word, and all of those things would generally go on to help you. Okay, so use association. So whenever you come across new words, you want to increase their retention, increase your retention of those words, make sure that you start using some associations or the others. And if you think that's too time consuming, worry not. You can actually find association based methods being sold in the marketplace as well. One of the most popular association based methods is the etymological method, or as we at times call it, the root prefix suffix method. So what is this method? What is RPS? So let's have a look at this word, okay? The word is incontrovertible. What does it mean? Incontrovertible means impossible to doubt, question, deny. Okay, so if I have provided incontrovertible evidence of something to you, now you cannot really question that evidence. Now you cannot question it. It's going to be a rather strong evidence. So impossible to doubt, question, or deny. But if I look at it from the etymological perspective, from the origin of this word perspective, then I'd say that okay, this word incontrovertible is made up of 4 discrete components. What are those components? In, controvert, and able. So what is in? So the in here is the prefix, something that comes at the beginning, and here this prefix basically means no or not. Then it has a root word, contro, which means against. Oh, it also has another root word, vert, which basically means to turn, and then it has a suffix, able, which means able or capable. So if I look at it from this etymological or root prefix suffix perspective, this word actually means not capable of turning against. So incontrovertible evidence is evidence so strong that you cannot turn against it. So there you go. That's where the meaning comes from. That's how this word was created in the past. But then a very legitimate question here would be, yaar, come on, why won't I learn just the meaning of the word? Why would I really talk about all this breakdown? Why do I need it? So the idea is, you're absolutely right. If it is about learning just one word, you shouldn't do that. But that said, when you look at these roots, okay, so look at this root word, contro, or look at this root word too, vert. Is this the only word that has been formed using these root words? There are other words as well. So if you learn one root word, it's equivalent of learning all the words that have been formed from that root word. And the benefits are that A, you learn a lot of words together. B, your retention is also higher because you just need to keep the meaning of that root word in mind. And then all the other words, their meanings can usually be linked with that, linked with the meaning of that root word. And then each one of those words in this group will also end up reinforcing each other. For example, let's pick up vert. Vert or verse basically means turn. So when you say invert, what does that mean? Invert basically means to turn something upside down, or to turn something by 180 degrees. Or how about this? Evert. Evert is to turn something inside out. Or this, avert. Avert essentially means to turn away. So let's say you're there at a party and you see somebody pulchritudinous. So what is pulchritudinous? We learned this a while ago. Beautiful. I'm helping you to revise. So normally when you find somebody handsome or beautiful, you look at that person, and if that person looks back at you, I'd say 90% of the people quickly turn their eyes away. So now instead of saying quickly turn their eyes away, can I say that they avert their eyes? Right? So that's invert, evert and avert. Here is a word whose meaning is hopefully already known to you. Divert, something that turns you away from your path, takes you away from your destination. Or how about fifth, revert, to turn back, to get back. I'll revert to you by tomorrow is I'll get back to you. So I will basically reply or to get back with relevant information. So that's revert. And then here are these three words that I'm sure you've heard of: introvert, extrovert and ambivert. So introvert are people who are turned inwards. Extroverts are turned outwards. So an introvert would generally not prefer meeting new people or going to attend these large social events where he has to interact with a lot of people casually. On the other hand, an extrovert will thrive in those situations, would look forward to those situations. And then you have ambivert. Ambivert are people who are introverts and extroverts both. Now, how can somebody be both of these things? Well, these people are introverts in some aspects of their lives and they are extroverts in some other aspects. So, for example, I know a lot of people who are quite extrovert in their professional life, whereas in their personal lives they are introverts. So you notice two different facets, two different styles. So the moment they reach their office, they can talk to strangers, they can approach them on their own, they won't mind networking events. But once they come back home, they'd rather sit in their room, listen to their favorite music, watch their favorite show, or maybe just spend some time reading a book, or maybe in the company of some close friend or a loved one, instead of meeting a lot of new people. So that is ambivert. And that's just all. That's a small list. There are many more words here, right? I've heard of vertiginous. You know, vertiginous is a very steep drop or climb. So that has the same root. Conversation has the same root. Vertigo has the same root. There are quite a few more words. In fact, why stop here? Why am I not able to think of any more words? Oh, there's this word called tergiversation. Look up the meaning. This has the same root. Then remember this word pervert. Subvert. They have the same root. Adversity. Adversary. All of these are words that are based on the same root. So you notice there are good 18-20 words that can be formed from this root. So learning one root is equivalent of learning all those words. So you end up learning a lot of words, that too in a shorter span of time. And where do you learn it from? I think the most popular book for this particular method is WordPar Made Easy. Okay, so this book has 46 sessions plus a small word list at the end. So what I typically suggest is that you go through 1 to 2 sessions every day. Along with it, you can spend some 5 to 7 minutes reading the word list. If you do that, you should be done with this book in somewhere between, I'd say, 26 to 52 days. That's all. So start here. In case you like this method and you think that, oh, can you give me more recommendations? Well, I can. Here is another very nice book that you can follow. I'll just write the name of the author duo actually. It is Nurnberg and Rosenblum, all about words. That's another book, another very nicely written book that uses the etymological method. So just set a target that you'd finish this much every day consistently, and that's all that is needed for you to acquire a lot of words in no time. So all that I ask you of is consistency, right? So normally my suggestion would be that as long as you are consistently devoting around 20 minutes to vocabulary using any of these methods, word list, cue cards, etymological method, any other method, right? You should within a year find yourself in a rather enviable position, right? And do keep in mind that you won't even realize when these 12 months go away. But then you have complete control over where these 12 months go. So if you can take out a tiny little bit of each one of those days and put it towards vocabulary, I am sure vocabulary will no longer be a matter of concern for you. Right? So that's it from me today. If you enjoyed working with me, do like this particular video. And if you want some more practice, you can go to our app where we are running a series called CAT 23 Crash Course. I know you're preparing for CAT 24, but a bit of practice can never hurt. Additionally, we have our test series as well that you can look at, and we obviously offer a complete, very exhaustive course that targets CAT 24. You can experience it by unlocking a free trial. So go ahead, join a batch for 3 days, see how it goes for you, and then you can take a call. But what I would like to tell you is that people who have gone through that course have gone on to get great results in the past, and we expect the results to only get better this year. Okay, so that's it from me. I look forward to meeting you in our next session together. That should happen at 12 tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So until then, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. I'll see you soon. Take care and have a great time.